Welcome, welcome to our first WISE workshop of the fall. We are tonight talking about small talk and networking, and it'll be a little different than this workshop we've ever done in the past because we've done this in person and have done lots of speed networking. We're going to attempt that in Zoom, so we'll see how that goes today. I'm Tricia Berry, for those of you that I may not know, Director of the Women in Engineering Program, and Anna Dyson is here with me, Assistant Director for WEP. She is waving at you all with her WISE background there in the screen. We have some of our fabulous WISE corporate partners who are with us today. Thank you to all of our WISE corporate partners who are going to be joining in our workshops this fall, as well as in the spring, and sharing their insights with you. So I'm excited that they are joining us this evening. I'm going to have each of them say hello, and I'm going to combine a couple agenda items, so I'm throwing y'all already. I sent them the agenda ahead of time. I'm going to have you all introduce yourselves, and then with that, share your thought on why networking is important. We'll kind of combine those two agenda items to get us going. So I'm going to go in order that I see you all so I don't miss any of y'all. Amy, you want to start us off?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. So my name is Amy Gropp. I'm joining from Chevron. I'm part of our health, safety, and environmental group. And I was a civil engineering graduate at UT in 2015. So I'm really excited to join y'all. And I think networking is super important because building connections with the people you work with or that you want to work with is part of the fun, but it's also how people trust you and want to continue working with you. So
awesome. Thanks, Amy. All right, Chandler, you are up next.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Chandler Elliott, and I am joining from Texas Instruments. I am a UT grad from the College of Communications, also in 2015, and I've been working with UT for about 3 years now. So excited to be able to work with my alma mater. I'm a university recruiting manager here at TI. And you know, so much of my job is based on networking, and I think no matter what industry or role you go into, it'll pay off, and you never know how the smallest interaction or piece of small talk might pay off later or pay dividends. I can't tell you how many times I've been either sitting in the hallway or joining a Zoom meeting early where you're just chit-chatting with somebody and you have an opportunity to connect with them later. And if you recall that conversation, you automatically have something to pull from, or they have something to remember you by. So it seems small at the time, but it pays dividends later.
Awesome. Thanks, Chandler. Ree, I see you. You are up next. Who are you? And we're combining our first question of what does networking mean to you? Why is it important? You're muted.
Whole conversation with just me. Sorry. So good evening, everyone. My name is Ree Kennebrew. I'm with Schlumberger. I've been with the company for 22 years. I'm a UT alumni, chemical engineering major. And so I'm currently the HR manager for one of our product lines in the company. So what does networking mean to me? Networking allows me the opportunity to get to meet that person or to get out there who I am. I am a firm believer in the elevator speech and always be prepared and ready for when you meet that person, because you never know who they are. You never know what they have to offer, what you have to offer them. So networking is really key in our everyday work scope that we're doing today. I'm moving to a role of global account manager, where networking is the main point of my job. I'm not selling, I'm networking with different clients. And so I'm just like you guys, I'm starting this role. I'm getting ready to meet new people I've never met. So networking is going to be important. So I am myself am working on my elevator speech.
All right, you can practice with all of us today. That's awesome. So we heard from our fabulous corporate friends a little bit about why networking is important to them and what they think about networking. But let's hear from some of you students. Why do you think networking is important? And feel free, you can type in the chat. Someone wants to be brave and unmute themselves, you can do that too. But let's hear from you all. Feel free to type away in there. And maybe someone will unmute and share, why is networking important?
I can share.
Awesome.
So I think networking is important because it's just a great opportunity to learn, whether it's from like your peers or company representatives. It's just a really good opportunity to get to learn and ask questions.
Awesome. And we'll practice some of our networking. Chelsea, why don't you share your name and your major and your year as part of that
Yes.
too?
So my name is Chelsea Tang, and I'm a sophomore chemical engineering major.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Who else? Why is networking important? How do you do it?
I can share next. Hi everyone, my name is Harini Shanmugam. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a sophomore electrical and computer engineering major. And I think networking is important because it gives you something, or at least that time to network, gives you an opportunity to bond with someone, just like you might bond with someone about knowing another language or sharing cultural aspects. It gives you that window to actually get to know someone, and once you kind of break that barrier, you can do things like learn, like Chelsea mentioned.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else want to share?
I can share.
Great.
My name is Jordan Bloomberg. I also use she, her pronouns, and I'm a sophomore electrical and computer engineering major. And I think networking is really important because you get to know what you like. You get to look for red flags, whatever your personal red flags are, and learn how to steer away from those and towards what you are really looking for, whether that's in a company, whether that's in friends. And so it's really important to see what's out there and then figure out what you like from what is out there.
Great. All right, I'm going to flip to another question. Okay, let's, by show of hands, either your real hand or you can use the reactions. Who likes small talk? Okay, I see a hand. One hand. Is that it? Oh my goodness. What are we talking about? You don't like small talk? What's the point of small talk? Let's start maybe with our corporate friends again. Any of y'all that want to join in and share. What's the point of small talk? Why do we do small talk? Amy or Ree or Chandler?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think small talk leads into big talk. So you have to start with something. And it's hard, but once you start, and I was looking at some of the ideas people had about how to get started, it usually leads you into something where you connect with the person. You'd be surprised who all you can connect with diversity-wise. So you have to start somewhere.
Awesome. Chandler or Ree?
So I believe that the small talk gives us an opportunity to, get the fillers of that individual, is to get the vibe, if you want to say, what kind of way should I approach this situation or approach this person? So it's really good just to start really small. How's the weather? Tell me about, what do you enjoy doing? So.
Awesome. And I see Chandler's trying to connect back in on audio. She's working on it. We'll come back to Chandler. All right. So students, what's the point of small talk? Why do you think? Why do you think we have to do it?
I can answer that. I really like small talking because you never know what you can learn from someone that can help you out, or in what way you can help them out in any way. So it's always nice to look back and say, oh yeah, I know this person. We talked about the weather, or we talked about sports. So I think it's, like somebody said earlier, it's like an anchor to like build a relationship in the long run.
Awesome. Chandler's got her audio back. Why small talk?
I'm back. Yes. I actually enjoy small talk. Like I was kind of saying when I joined, if it's like usually for me, it's before a meeting starts. If you join the Zoom early, or if we're in person, you're in the conference room early, or just walking around the halls. I think someone said earlier, it could lead to big talk, or it often does. And you learn things about that person that you can build rapport. If it's an item of clothing they're wearing, or a hat, or a jersey or something, you can say, oh yeah, UT's playing tomorrow, and you can connect with that person on that same small topic. in other meetings or future interactions. And it shows that you have a genuine interest, not just in what that person does, but who they are. And that will pay dividends later on.
For sure. Any other thoughts? I see Chelsea wrote in, builds a personal bond and breaks the ice. Other thoughts? Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, so I was thinking that small talk is like even though it might be hard, it's like the best way to make the other person feel comfortable. So it's not just a series of corporate or job related questions back and forth, but more like a conversation, because you're introducing stuff that isn't related to like the industry, but like hobbies and pets and stuff like that.
Yeah, the way you get to know people, make them feel comfortable. Very true. All right. Well, let's see what Forbes, that seems like it's quite official, right? This is what Forbes says, an article in Forbes. 6 reasons why it's important. You have no idea where it will go. This kind of goes to the small idea to the big idea, right? Small talk to big talk concept. Makes you smarter. Why do you think it makes you smarter?
It keeps you on your feet. You can't really prepare for it.
Yeah, it keeps your mind going, trying to make those connections as someone's sharing things. You might learn something along the way. Going to what Farzine said, it makes you feel good, right? It helps people feel good about having that conversation. Oh my, small talk feels good. It opens your eyes. You might, again, learn things that people have that they're sharing, and opens your eyes to new things that you're thinking about. You'll be liked. We like to be liked. I like to be liked. Y'all like to be liked? Yes. And then last but not least, you have no choice, right? You have to start somewhere, and that small talk is really where it does start. Small talk topics. Does anybody have a favorite one they want to talk about and tell us why?
I like to ask people what their favorite movie is.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of a safe topic, right? Learn things, kind of all those things on that screen there.
I like to start with the weather, because we all can relate and experience it. If we're in the same place, we can at least sort of experience it at the same time.
How many of you think weather is the most boring thing to talk about? Usually that's like very common, right? But everybody, just like Yana said, everyone's experienced the weather. Getting to wherever we are, we've all experienced it, right? So it's an easy thing to start. What else? Who else has a favorite small talk topic that they like to start with?
I like to talk about food because I like to eat. So, and I'm sure a lot of people like to eat. So, and then it's funny when we disagree over stuff like pineapple on pizza or something. So
that's true. And you bring up a great point. Do we have to necessarily agree on or even know everything about the topic that we bring up for small talk? How many of you are scared to talk about sports? There's inevitably people that are scared to talk about sports, or maybe certain sports, right? Like, I don't know anything going on right now and pick a sport, right? Does that matter? How might you deal with that if someone uses that on you as their starting point? What do you do?
I might say something. Oh,
go ahead.
Harania and Dorcas.
Yeah, I think you can start off by saying, oh, I'm not familiar with that sport, or tell me a little bit about it. Why are you interested in it? What makes it your favorite? And that really starts to break the ice, because of course they're going to start talking about something that they're interested in, and it just really helps ease into the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Rainey or Dorcas, did you want to add anything else in on that?
No, I was pretty much just gonna say I would flat out be I don't know what that is. So please tell me about it.
Yeah, just invite them in, right? What else?
I would have to agree. When it comes to like sports like football or like hockey, I don't really know much, but when it's basketball, like I know something that's going on, and I like to sometimes talk about sports because then you can find out about like why certain people like certain teams. Maybe it's because they're from that region of the country. So you can ask them to talk more about where they grew up.
You know, the topic is of interest to you. What happens when you go into that situation, right? You get excited, you smile more, you're ready to go. So if you have in your mind some of those small talk topics that are your favorite, that are your go-tos, then when you go into those networking situations, that kind of puts you in that power position, right? That kind of puts you in that spot to start it off with something that gets you excited and puts you in that positive, happy place.
Talking about the weather, it always seems like a cliche, but I feel like as soon as we got in, we kind of all just transitioned to how much we really want sweater weather. And so that was a really nice bonding experience.
Okay. And so what I think you mentioned, and my guess is this probably happened with many groups and many conversations, was that you started with just randomly about the weather, but then you all came to something that you're like, yes, me too. Yes, I like that. Or yes, this is how I feel. It's easy to get to those commonalities, and then you can keep the conversation going, right? Because that's what you're wanting to do. And you want to get it going, keep it going. As Amy mentioned, get to those bigger topics, right? Get to those things that can help you with the conversation. From our corporate folks, any observations or things that you were thinking about during that exercise?
Yeah, so
yeah,
I can.
Chandler. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say it felt so short. You know, by the time we got going, in all the groups I was in, but we established a connection and had something in common or something we could talk about. And when the timer came up, it was like, oh, I kind of want to keep talking. You know, I was enjoying it. So that's always a good sign when you feel like you can establish that conversation. And I totally echo the, you know, weather kind of breaking off into other topics or even sports that happened in our chat too. But Elise and I were talking about getting cooler and enjoying all the pumpkin things. And, you know, that could lead into another topic about like the holidays or what you like to do in your spare time. So it can all just build on itself, which is fun.
So to build on that, Elise and I got to be together twice, and it was awesome because we had two different topics, but we both learned that we're swimmers and we're from the Houston area, and we got to talk about a bunch of other things. So it was nice because it helped, and we could still keep the conversation going after, I guess, 6 minutes.
That's awesome. Bree, any observations or comments from you?
Yeah, so with my group, the weather was great because we all agreed we wanted to stay warm. We like the way it is now, maybe just a little bit cooler. But it's just amazing how when we got to, it's just like someone else said earlier, you want to keep going because you realize, hey, the time is about to expire. You were just getting, you know, comfortable and getting started, but it was just such ease to gradually get into the conversation and ease into getting to know a person. And so it was really good, really good.
Awesome. Any last thoughts or observations or questions about small talk? We didn't really dive into the bad small talk topics. Does anyone have questions about bad small talk topics or things that were listed on there that you're like, well, but what about? What's a safe politics conversation right now?
Does not exist.
You can just say everyone's crazy.
Well,
most people will agree with you on that one.
Yes.
What should we be all doing right now, though?
Voting.
Voting.
So that could be an easy small talk topic, right? That's kind of neutral, maybe. It's very timely. Sometimes those topics that are maybe questionable to dive too deep into at the surface level can be okay. But again, you know, you kind of have to be careful in those. I saw a hand, or is there a question, comment, thought on questionable topics?
I guess my question would be, how can you steer the conversation away from the questionable topics if like they bring it up and you don't want to talk about it without sounding rude?
Let's hear from you all. Thoughts?
I think like we were saying earlier, one topic can kind of lead into another topic. And I think that's true of like bad topics too. We like we mentioned, like you can talk about sports, but like your team might tell you about where you're from. So even if like the initial starting point might not be bad and you don't really want to talk about that, maybe there's something underlying or connected to it that you can like pull on and like naturally ease the conversation that way.
That's great. Other thoughts, Bree?
No, and I was just going to give an example. Like, you know, you may talk about what's going on right now in voting, and maybe it's going to start heading down the wrong direction on politics. And you're like, oh, well, there's just one of the things that also I see that football has just started, you know. So who is your favorite team and who are you going to root for? So you kind of deflect and move on to something different, you know. So that's a good segue to move to something on a better or positive note.
Any other questions or thoughts on touchy, dangerous, small talk topics?
What do you do? Say you do try and like, you know, bypass that. But say this person just happens to be persistent and says, so anyways, and goes back to the said topic you're trying to avoid.
Amy?
Oh, my favorite line is always like, I don't know enough about the topic to like contribute to the discussion, and either they keep talking and you just don't have to say anything because you have nothing to contribute, or they're like, oh, never mind, let's talk about this instead then, so that you can both be part of the conversation. But that's probably how I would get out.
I would agree with that. That's what I was going to say too, is sometimes you can be silent for a little bit. It doesn't have to get awkward, but usually a couple seconds of silence and they realize it's, you know, time to move on.
Okay, anything else on that? All right. Well, we've got on here the screen, you know, the networking basics, and it's a little different in this virtual space, right? It's a little different to figure out how to navigate networking, and it's not as free flowing and perhaps as easy to feel like you can get in and connect and then get out of the conversation. But, you know, when you want to join in a conversation and get to network with people, you kind of move right in. In Zoom world, we're going to move right into rooms, and people might already be talking, but that's okay. You're going to join in, figure out how you can listen to what they're talking about, join in the conversation. Someone might invite you into the conversation. Hey, we're talking about whatever. What do you think? And bring you into the conversation. That's what you can also do for other people to help bring them into the conversation when they join in. Come with a plan if you're going to an information session or somewhere where you want to learn something, meet someone, accomplish some task, understand what you're going in to connect for. It sometimes helps get rid of your nervousness if you go in with a purpose. And then get out, figure out when you've gotten what you need and it's time to move on. And, you know, thanks, I'm gonna head to the next breakout room, or thanks so much, I appreciate your time, and off you go, right? You don't have to necessarily linger, but, you know, just a gracious exit is easy enough.